Hey everybody, welcome to another Foosh video review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Funko Legacy Collection Magic the Gathering Garruk Wildspeaker figure. Garruk here is the quote-unquote big guy from the new Magic 6-inch line, and I gotta tell you, when I first got a look at this guy on the shelf at Barnes & Noble, I was kind of like, whoa, that's a big one. And when I picked up the box here, there is some serious heft to this packaging. This figure weighs quite a bit, much heavier than the standard 6-inch figure from any line. And we're at the point now where, in any other line, Marvel Legends, whatever, this guy, a guy this size, would probably end up being the Build-A-Figure at least. That's kind of how big he is, but we'll be taking a look at that in a couple minutes here. Now, the packaging is pretty standard Funko fare. We've got the window box, which is always a nice, attractive display, and I love the artwork of Garruk on the side and the back here. Let's take a closer look at that real quick, because it just looks really, really cool. I love the glowing red eyes. It just looks so ominous. That's really, really awesome. And of course, on the back again, just like the other Funko boxes we've seen, we have a rundown of all the characters offered up in this first series. And here at the Foosh, we've already taken a look at Jace and Nissa. So today, it's Garruk's turn. We're going to be taking a look at Garruk. So why don't you sit tight? I'm going to get this guy out of the packaging, and we're going to see exactly what we get with this new Garruk Wildspeaker figure from Funko. Here is Garruk outside of the packaging, and I gotta say right off the bat, he looks fantastic. The sculpt work here and all the detail and all the paint is just outstanding. Funko did a really, really good job with this guy. And again, I keep saying this, but this Magic line is just worlds apart and so much better from what we saw from Funko's Game of Thrones 6-inch line. I mean, I just can't believe the difference in figure quality here. I mean, the Game of Thrones figures were good, but I really think these Magic figures are some of the better 6-inch figures we've seen from any line in quite a while. I'd say they're even on par with some of Hasbro's Marvel Legends at the moment. Speaking of Marvel Legends, let's get a quick comparison shot here. Here is Garruk with Blaster from the most recent San Diego Comic-Con exclusive box set. And they are almost the same size here. Now, Blaster here is a pretty darn big figure. He's built on the body from the movie Incredible Hulk, or the movie Hulk from the Avengers movie, not the Incredible Hulk. So this is a big figure to begin with, and Garruk here is almost as big as Blaster. To bring a little more context into the picture, here he is with Chewbacca from the Star Wars Black Series. And again, they are almost the exact same size. And once again, Chewbacca is a very large figure. Chewbacca is a good inch tall, at least an inch taller than Han Solo from the Black Series line. So Garruk here is definitely one of the bigger figures we're seeing this year. And here he is with Jace from the Magic line. And Jace is a pretty standard 6-inch figure, probably standard for a DC Universe Classics figure or a Marvel Legends figure, male body. So pretty standard. So Garruk is a good bit larger than Jace. So Garruk is kind of no joke, and I'm not kidding here. He really is. He's got some serious heft to him. He is solid. There is some weight to this figure, which is really cool to see. Now, while he looks awesome, I mean, and he does look thoroughly awesome, his articulation is a little iffy. I mean, he has a lot of articulation points, but you know what? Before we even get to that, let's just finish up with the sculpt here. Let's get a close-up. Let's get a close-up of his face, and we're gonna take in, we're gonna bask in the glory of this sculpt, because I think it's really well done. His head sculpt is just really cool. His helmet here is actually a softer plastic. You can like move the thing over his nose. It doesn't come off though or anything. It's pretty. I mean, it's on there. It's meant to stay on there. The little tusk things here are also a softer plastic that can be manipulated. But I love that you can see his eyes through the mask, through the helmet. That's just so cool. And as we pan down, we can get a little bit more. You can see all the detail. The sculpt is just awesome. It's so well done. You can see the textures of the different materials used that make up his costume. the different metals from his armor, everything just looks really good. He's just a fantastic looking figure. And the skin tone that they used, it's very corpse-like, and you can see some pink and red veins in there on his arm. That just looks awesome too. Now, I don't know much about the character because I'm brand new to Magic, as I've mentioned, but the little bit that I have been able to read, it looks like he's under a spell. I guess he doesn't normally look like this. He's under a spell that was put on him by Liliana. So some kind of like death spell. He's basically be turned into a zombie or something like that. Something similar to that. Which I guess that's what makes him kind of look like a corpse. And let's get a look at him from the back here. He's wearing this kind of furry shoulder kind of thing with these big black spikes coming out of it. They just look really intimidating and imposing. And you can see his own hair there sticking out from under the helmet. But the whole figure just looks just outstanding. Like, I love it. This is one of the best looking figures I've gotten this year, I think. And this has been a year of some really darn good 6-inch action figures. But Garruk here, just on the shelf, he looks awesome. But where he kind of falters a little bit is his articulation. I mean, he's got a lot of the standard 6-inch articulation, a lot of what we're used to seeing, but a lot of it just isn't very functional. I mean, his shoulders have a decent range of motion, but because of the armor up here, he doesn't get a lot of movement here. Let me play with the light a little bit here a second. He's not getting like a ton of movement. So I mean, well enough. I mean, he can raise his arm over his head, and that does go for both arms. And this on the left, evidently, it's a little bit better. So that's not too bad. And this armor here, it's a very soft, very malleable, kind of like rubbery plastic that can be moved. So that helps. That helps his articulation. Elbows, he's got just a standard hinge, and he has a bicep swivel too, but the bicep swivel doesn't get a lot of movement. There's not a lot of clearance there on either side. So that's kind of a thing. And he just has a standard hinged elbow, and he doesn't get a full 90 degrees. It's just about like that is about the best you're going to get, which isn't bad. Let's see, his wrists are a swivel and a hinge, and they seem to work pretty well. I don't have any issues there. Let's see here. He's got a waist joint. His waist can swivel too. As you can see, it moves very smoothly, and a little hint of an ab crunch, but not much. I mean, all of this gear here kind of prevents that from happening smoothly. And his legs, unfortunately, don't move very much at all. The skirt here that he has, I don't know what to call it. I guess it's a skirt. It really does hinder his hip articulation quite a bit. Doesn't move very well at all. He's got barbell joints in there. So it looks like if the skirt wasn't an issue, there'd be a good range of motion, but it is an issue, so there isn't a good range of motion. And he's got some thigh cuts here that allow his legs to swivel, and they work pretty well. The knee joints work pretty well. He's got a double knee joint, but again, without the hips working in unison, they're not really all that useful. And then, let's see here, his ankles, they forward and backward motion, and yeah, there's a bit of a rocker kind of swivel there. So, I mean, he's got all the articulation that, like, Blaster or Chewbacca has, but not all of it is totally functional. So you're not going to get a lot of dynamic poses out of him. Like, this is, I mean, he's just going to be the large hulking guy kind of in the back. And for accessories, he's got this giant axe with some markings that look similar to, well, not really, but they kind of remind me of the markings on Jace's cloak, and they match like the markings that we see here on his belt and on his skirt. Now, evidently, he should be able to hold this in a two-handed pose. I really haven't been able to make that happen because of the articulation and because of the weird sculpt of this hand. This hand is not really conducive to hold anything, really. I mean, maybe there's a way to do it, but I found that he can hold the axe well enough just in one hand. I mean, it is a giant axe, so it would be cool if he could get a good two-handed grip on it. But that's about what we're seeing. Whoops. in terms of his, and I don't know how well that's gonna hold up over time either. It's not the best grip. It's not the most secure thing in the world. But, I mean, it does the job okay, I suppose. So overall, I think the goods outweigh the bads here. I mean, the only downside to this guy is that he's not as posable as I'm sure some people would prefer. A lot of people are hardcore articulation junkies. I like articulation. I'm not an articulation junkie, so to speak. So he hits a lot of the right notes for me, and I really like him a lot. I'm more forgiving in the articulation realm. I'm happy just that he has the articulation points. If I can't get a lot of movement out of him, then so be it. Oh, also, didn't even look at the head. Forgot to go over the head here. It moves a little bit side to side and up and down a little bit. Seems like it's on a ball joint. But again, he's got so much stuff around his head here that there's just not a lot of clearance. So that is definitely a factor in terms of his neck articulation. But I think he looks so awesome just standing there and being a big hulking presence. Like just standing behind Jace like that. That just looks really, really cool to me. I can't help it. I dig it. So, I mean, if you're into really well sculpted and well painted 6-inch figures, I mean, you're not going to do much better this year than Garruk here, I really think. I'm really impressed with this guy. I really like him. I'm really glad I picked him up. But if you're into figures that are compact with useful and usable articulation, he may be a little bit of a letdown for you because a lot of it just isn't useful. The articulation is not as useful as it is on, say, Blaster here. But he looks awesome. I'm excited to have him, and he just looks really great on my shelf. So I'm pleased. And you can get this guy, I believe he's available at Barnes & Noble right now. That's where I got him. People are finding him at Toys R Us. Some people, it looks like Amazon is going to be getting them soon. I'm not sure what the overall availability is for them right now, but I know you can get them at Barnes & Noble for sure because, like I said, that's where I got them. So if you're into them, I would start looking for him now because I think out of this entire line, I think he's going to be the one that's going to be the most in demand just because I think you're getting the most bang for your buck with him, and he just looks awesome. So let us know what you think about Garruk Wildspeaker. Leave a comment below. Check us out on the message boards. Check us out on social media, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, etc. Let us know what you think. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you very soon.